So now our next one we are going to work on is whip stitch. So we pull out our whip stitch sample. Okay, it looks like this. It should be pinned properly. Then we're going to flip this around so that the hem is here, because if this was a skirt, the rest of the bulk of the skirt would be up there. We're going to make sure we cut our thread is single thread, and you want to make sure you tie a knot. Oh, I have a little bit of extra thread. Okay. And make sure you tie your knot. All right. This is another one. We will be working from right to the left. All right, so I've got a little tail. I'm going to trim that down. Okay. So I'm going to get my lighting a little bit better. That's a little bit better. Okay. Sorry, I'm working on the lighting, guys, to make sure you can see easily. Okay, so there we go. That's a little better. All right, so here's what's going to happen. You want to think about whenever you're stitching a hem, which way, first of all, what stitch you're doing. Second of all, what direction does your needle need to face. In every single one of these stitches, it will face one or two ways. It will either run, the needle will stay parallel to this fold, okay? Parallel to that fold. Or it will be perpendicular to the fold, okay? So, for a whip stitch, we are making ours be perpendicular to the fold. So I'm going to move this down because I'm realizing that would be easier. So perpendicular to the fold. So standing looking at the very end on the right, I've got my knot, single thread knot, okay, single thread knot. First thing you want to do is you're going to come, and in between, you've got this two-layer, right? So you've got the flat side. This is my flat side. This is my fashion side. So if I say fashion side, flat side, I am talking about this part because that's the side you'll see. This is the fold side. All right. Now when I say all layers, you're going to go through all three layers because this is folded, remember? If I say only go through one layer, that means only go through the top layer of this fold. Obviously on the flat side or the fashion side, whatever stitches you put there is going to be able to be seen on the other side. So you need to be mindful of that. But to start this, the first thing you're going to want to do, okay, that might be a little hot. Let me pull up my light because I think that's a little too bright. Yay, white on light. So you're going to take your needle, in the middle, sorry, and you're going to put it between, not through the fashion side or flat side, but only through the fold, and it's only going through the edge of the fold. I am not really far away from the edge of the fold, okay? I'm not far away. See that? I'm not far away at all. So I am going to, right there. See that? It's right there. See that? See that? Not very far from the edge. And then you can just pull that needle, and you have, see how that knot, what did that knot do automatically? It tucked itself, it hid, and that's what we want, okay? So always remember, every single one of these stitches, with the exception of the closures, will always start on the fold, okay? It will start on the fold, all right? On the fold and between the layers. I'm trying to get to focus again. It has attitude. If I put my needle there, it might help. Okay? All right. So, then what do we do next? So yeah, so it is, my knot has tucked itself. Every single stitch is going to be perpendicular. So every single one of my stitches is going to be perpendicular. Perpendicular, perpendicular. My needle is perpendicular to my fold. Okay? It's imperative you remember that. Next thing you need to know is we are doing a prick stitch, and this is great practice for when we get ready to do our snaps and stuff. It's going to be a prick stitch, so the prick stitches are small. If you remember looking at our thread marking, we kind of did it on the opposite side, but tiny. Those are small, okay? So you're going to do a prick stitch going through all layers. To get started, especially if I'm going only from one end to another, I will actually do my first prick stitch right where my knot was. And I am just going through, I'm going to move this out of the way so you can see. Prick stitch goes, I'm staying close, I'm pressing them together, and I am just going through tiny little stitch of all layers, okay? Now when I do this, I am not doing it way out here. That's too far out. I am not going all the way up in here. That would put a really big, long line on the back. So this is correct, see? And if you look on the back, you can see where your needle's going to go, how big that's going to be. See how small that is? We are not going to do it this way because then it's going to do weird, funky things. Okay, that's too big. That's too wide. And we are not going to do it this way. Once again, that is too wide. You can see it. We don't want to see a whole lot on the back side, all right? We want it to be a ninja on the back. So the very first stitch is going to be a tiny prick stitch going through all the layers. I am stitching it right across. I'm going in straight across from where I had come out and going back up right next to where I had initially come out. Okay, and then I'm pulling. That's just to kind of anchor that corner so it doesn't flop in the wind. Then I'm going to decide how far down do I want to go. Some people, if they're not used to figuring that out, I used to use my thumb a lot. You can also take a pencil and mark notches so you can get used to seeing distance, because that is also a practice skill for most people. All right, but I'm going to move this pin, okay, and I'm going to decide how far down I'm going. So I'm going to do my thumb, a thumbnail width. Okay, so I kind of put my thumb in the way, and I'm just going to do a prick stitch right on the other side of my thumb, going through all layers. Okay, what's great is I'm also tugging with this hand, with these two fingers, like I held for my back stitch, and kind of keeping that taut to make it a little easier to make that stitch. Okay, so that's my thumb width, and then I pull it, and that needle, look again, is perpendicular. It is perpendicular to my fold. Right, and then I pull it. Okay, so there's your first one. Don't pull it too tight because look what it will do. Woo! We don't want that, right? So make sure it's nice and relaxed. Like I said, I like to put my finger on top of it to make sure I don't pull too hard. So then my next one, I will put my finger there, my thumb, and I'm going to catch it. Notice how my needle is going in right next to the fold, and then I'm just catching the tiniest little amount, okay? See? So that one is that far, that one is that far. They're the same distance. And my perpendicular, I might be a little bit off, so I'm going to pull it out and re-put it. Okay? So this is, once again, you learning the technique. See? Now it's creating that whip effect. Okay? Right? So, put my finger there to kind of help me learn distance. And costumers and stitchers and all of that, they use like body parts all the time to help distance things, whether it's a foot, or it's a thumb, or it's a pinky, or it's a knuckle length. Boop, 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 right? Most costumers know which knuckle length is an inch, you know, okay, or close enough. Okay, so there we go. It's a pretty quick stitch. And this is a good distance because look, I can't even really get my pinky in there, all right? It's holding pretty tight. Okay, so then we're going to just keep going. So I've got my finger, my thumb is right there. My other nail is right there. I'm going to go slide my finger down because that would be more useful. Catch a little bit, catch a little bit. And it's important for you to see the back. Not very big, okay? So if you got a little big, it's fine. First time, make it all the way to the end. Make it all the way to the end, and then you can kind of evaluate. Oh, I kind of screwed up there. Okay, I need to be more mindful of that. All right? Okay, then we're going to pull. See, look at that. See that one? Yeah. That one might be just a smidge smaller. But we're just going to keep on going because that's our goal. I want you guys to make it to the end. Just making it to the end of this sample the first time around is a beautiful thing. And some people don't even do that. All right, and you guys can do it. Okay, so there's that. Look at that lip stitch. Woo woo. All right, so that's how it's looking so far. We're gonna keep going. See how that one is a little bit shorter? That's okay. It's not horrible. And again. There we go. Yeah, that's looking okay. We'll keep going. Making sure I don't accidentally push this out. I'm making sure that everything's laying nice and flat. You start pushing things the wrong direction, that creates a whole world of havoc. See? Perpendicular. See if I lay it straight. Okay. See how that one ended up a little wide? That's okay. All right. Just going to keep going. All right, so that one is a little wide as well. You want to make sure you are not underneath the fold. That's not correct either. Because then it makes it roll under and then it does other puckering, strange issues, and we don't want that either. See? Look at that. That's kind of cool. So this one is a little bit far away. Alright, but it's okay. It's acceptable still. So it was catching a little bit. There we go. That's more satisfactory. That is the distance you're aiming for right there. Okay? Pretty darn close. This one's a little far away. I mean, it would still work. So, I'm going to take that off because it's in my way. And I ironed this nice and well. And if you had to put this down for a while, come back to it, make sure you re-iron your pleats or your folds. Make sure you're perpendicular. It's not quite perpendicular, but it's also a little out. Okay. There we go. And we're almost done. Oh, maybe like 2 stitches left. So these samples go pretty fast, especially if you've done them before. If you've done these stitches before, you'll be done really quick. I'm just going a little slower to help those who are learning. Okay. There we go. So now the next thing you're going to do, what's going to happen? How do we finish this off? It is a temporary or permanent stitch. It is a permanent stitch. So we have a knot at the beginning, we need to do our knot at the end. So, same kind of method that we did for the back stitch, only instead we are going to put our prick stitch is going to stay perpendicular like our stitches. It's going to go right over the top of where our last stitch was. Okay? Do you see that? Right over where my last stitch is done. Then I'm going to take my thread that is still in the fabric, not this one that's in my eye, that will do you absolutely no good except cause frustration and possibly tears, and I do not wish to do either of those. So, the one that is still in the fabric and is closest to your point, you're going to take and wrap it once, twice, thrice. Okay? And then you can, as you're holding that down, pinch it and pull your needle. It'll keep all the twisted bits close to the fabric. And then you're going to come back and we're going to understitch it twice. Oopsie, how I've got that. I want to fix that. So give it a nice little tug. It will stay. And then you're going to go once, right underneath it, and then twice. Once to make it stop, twice to make it not. Okay? So that is our whip stitch. And we use this as a hemming procedure as well. Okay? Or to finish off any kind of hem. Sometimes it's depends on where. Sometimes it's next. So you'll take a picture of the front of it, obviously, And then you're also going to take a picture of the back because you do get graded on how that stitch looks and how pretty it is. Look at that. Okay, so that is your whip stitch, peeps. My lovely students, go forth into the world and make beautiful whip stitches. Make them a little, that was pretty even. That's not too bad. Okay, so I look forward to seeing your samples. We're moving on to the next stitch.